are
Because that was supposed to be paid for and taken off of the rent.
We're live.
live.
Okay, I'd like to call this finance and legislation meeting to order. Mr. Bass? I'm here. Mr. Ballard?
I'm here.
Mr. Bigley is here. We have one piece from the auditor, and it is an ordinance authorizing the auditor to transfer the sum of $5,000 from the 2023 general fund budget, category 100, 9100, 59003, transferred to the elderly van, to the revenue category 2650000, 47101, and declaring an emergency. This is just a standard. Motion to
Second.
say. That's all we have for legislation, everybody.
I have a question for the Safety Service Director.
Well, if you want, I'll sit in this seat and I'll try to answer it best I can.
He's on vacation.
Hey, Lori.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Hey, you know what, are we gonna do anything with this code of ethics thing?
That is up to everybody, I guess.
Look at me, I did my job.
Yeah, makes it the same thing. I mean, it seemed like there was some discrepancy over if we should have one, then the administration should have one as well. If they're requesting that we should have one, that they should have one as well, which they don't. So I kind of think that's why it's kind of died right
So
there.
they don't have one?
They don't have one they enforced, to my knowledge. One was made when Terry was here, I believe, after the jail hanging.
Yeah.
There was something, I mean, I vaguely remember that. But the council members that I've spoke to, that's kind of what they seemed like, where they felt, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If we're gonna be held to a standard and be punished, be able to be punished.
But should we start the standard and pass something for us and
I-
then require them to
Well,
do it?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, this doesn't deal with administration
No,
at all
it
anyway.
does not, it does not. I think the thought was that if administration is expecting council to do it, then they should obviously have
Oh,
something
I
like
agree
that in
with
place
that.
as well.
They should have had something like that a long time ago.
Right, and well, I know that, I'm positive something was
Yeah,
drafted
but I don't
up,
know
but I don't
how
think it was,
detailed it was.
I don't think it was ever like adopted.
It was
Right.
never adopted by
Yes,
council.
okay, so,
So I think.
Well, it
that-
wouldn't have been.
not council, but
Council.
administration.
Well, I meant the administration never did anything with it, never brought
And
it.
never brought it to council,
No,
basically.
yeah.
And that would have been, if that were done, I would have,
That would-
given the fact that the administration consists of different departments, I think each department would have had to implement that within their own department.
I agree.
I don't necessarily know that that would have been anything that would have
I don't-
required council's approval.
I don't think it would have required council's approval at all, because, but I think the administration would need to adopt it, correct?
Correct.
I mean, so
But yeah,
they don't have an
There's no need
adopted.
for councilmatic action
No.
on that at all.
No.
Is there a need for that on this?
Yeah, because you are,
This is dealing
because it's
with us.
governing your body.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's law or anything, it's just a policy that you guys are adopting to govern yourself.
Well, maybe council
I
should
don't
lead the way
disagree.
and have
I guess
them.
my whole thing is again, at the end of the day, our consequences for us more or less lie with the residents who elect us.
Correct.
And we are elected. If somebody doesn't, I might not like what Rick does, but if the people are willing to elect Rick, what say should I
But we all,
have?
you know, if they do, perfect example is they censured that lady in Congress.
I mean,
I mean, we
Congress
have
had-
to govern our own body here.
I agree.
Now, if somebody's a constant problem, we have to discipline them somewhere.
not only that, and I hate to reopen old wounds, but we had an incident where there were some, with Megan and Mike.
Right.
Meaning there was nothing there
That's-
for you guys to
well,
really do anything.
That's when it came out, I think, when that incident happened.
No, I
Didn't
think
that
this,
happen?
this sort of, there was some discussion about it, that's when the discussion
Right.
started, but the discussions really heated up when those two got.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And again, I'm not really against it at all. I just more also feel like we all get along.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And I would trust any of you integrity-wise on if you didn't like me, you would never try to use something against me politically in this
Address
regard.
ourselves,
Right.
yeah.
However, when we're adopting rules, we can't always go by, this is the council that's going to be here and people are going to like each other. So we do have to kind of put it in a perspective where we can't allow it to be weaponized.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, there has to be some decorum in those process.
I agree. Again, we don't want to put
But
rules on
I'm
us.
just saying, we've been sitting on this for a long time.
I agree. I agree. And I don't necessarily have a problem putting something on file. You know what I mean?
But I
And I
mean,
think for the most part, what's in there is common sense,
it
I
covers,
agree.
basic
yeah.
I
stuff.
agree.
I don't think there's
What
anything.
and again, in there too, there were a few things that I found that I highlighted and sent back to Mike when it was originally written. I just don't feel like council nor administration should have any bearing of discipline over each other, which they currently don't.
Right.
Nor would they.
Nor would they from this. I understand. I'm just saying, like,
So
that's
then,
two
so
things.
then why are we sitting on this? Because this addresses us.
It does.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with administration.
Right.
No.
So I you know.
Because administration's gonna address
Because
administration,
now,
we're gonna
if we
address
have
council.
something like this, whether, you know, we can always change it.
Yeah.
But if we have something like this, we can always say, well, we have this
To go off.
to go off of. And that's,
Then we can
that's
amend
what,
it if
yeah,
anything.
right. You know, administration, we can urge them to do it, but we can't make them do it.
We can't. But
But I
I
think we cover our asses by doing this.
And I think it's also a distinction here between administration and council is that, again, administration, you have separate departments with the elected officials governing over their own departments, individuals, whereas you guys are a body. And you're doing this to try to have procedures
For
in
us.
place, so if an individual member of the body gets out of line.
Right.
Sure, but I would say that it would be a show of good faith if we were willing to adopt this, if administration was willing to adopt something
But
as
like
well.
he said, I think their, in order for them to adopt something, it has to cover all departments. So
Yeah, but
I
it's
think
a,
all departments would have
but
some kind of.
I would agree, Bob, but it's a general blanket because most of this is conduct.
Yeah,
So
yeah, conduct is conduct.
I don't know.
conduct is conduct. That's why I don't know that it would have to vary department to department. It is just who the administration resides over. They should have a set of rules in place
Right.
that basically, when something is done, it's the same for everybody. It is, you're forced now to act. You have created it. You know what I mean? That's
Okay, so who determines, like, since it's our, like,
we would.
so we
We
would
would-
determine.
Yeah, you guys are the guys controlling all of
So
this.
this
Yeah, but-
doesn't come from the administration.
Mike
That's what
is
I'm
just,
saying, that,
and
like,
again, Mike does a great job. Mike is more or less our mouthpiece. Mike does not,
Correct.
we hold the power. Mike speaks for us, and he is, like, I would say, our leader. But at the end of the day, the seven of us are who make the rules. We can override him at any point. All of this is ours to do.
But he
know?
would be basically the mediator on something like
but what
that.
I'm saying, we all know the situation.
Correct.
Right,
Okay,
and
so
I think
you-
that hasn't been that bad lately.
No, so we know that situation, but who determines?
We
You guys
would.
do.
We
So
do.
we would determine
You govern
if he
yourself.
did
And I
something.
honestly, I
That's
wouldn't want the president of council, I would want him to act only in his regard if somebody was missing that day the same way. I wouldn't want the president of council to be able to directly, you're guilty. Then that's only one person
No, I think he
choosing
would,
whether,
I think he would be supervise the procedure.
Sure.
Just like the,
but I would say if there was an
Right.
allegation against somebody before we determined whether they were guilty or before we determined what a punishment is gonna be delegated, I think that needs to be done by the 7 members in council,
Right.
not by one person,
Right.
you know what I mean? He would bring the allegation to
well,
us.
he could also be a tiebreaker though.
Sure, and I agreed, but that would be his general capacity
Sure.
as president, and I think that should stand.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about this, I think it should be 7 members of council, or whoever's in question, so it would be
Looking at the
6.
evidence, correct.
And he
Yeah.
would be the
I agree.
tiebreaker, I would say.
And I think that just pretty much covers it. I think this covers our
Yeah.
group pretty well. You know, like I said, we can always amend
And
it.
you could also do, you could do a majority vote for that punishment or that,
Sure,
or
yeah.
you can do a, what do they call it when it's 5-2?
Supermajority.
Supermajority. Just, again, I'm trying to protect, we all get along. Had something been in place years ago, it may have been able to be used on people who didn't
Right.
actually bear it, you know what I mean? So that's why I just want us to be
Yeah, but I don't think we should hold our feet on something that covers us because administration is dragging.
And I think when looking, and I'm tossing against just saying this, is that when you're looking at the administration, it's, okay, so if you have a policies and procedures for the administration, and let's just say I go out and I get an OVI, how do you decide who's going to, I mean, I'm not part of a body, I'm really not,
You're an employee.
I'm part of the administration, but I'm also the head of my department. So
And you're
who's going to make the determination of whether or not I should be, censured, punished in some way? I mean, who makes that determination? That gets muddy too.
I would say the mayor does.
What-
The mayor has the ultimate say because she is all the way up the ladder. If you want to say the safety service director does, that's her boss. So, I mean, she's gonna supersede his duties
But going back to what you were saying
as
earlier,
far as one person.
I get she's the mayor, but she has absolutely no control over how I run my department, how Chrissy runs her department, how anybody
Sure.
runs their department. So why would she get to say that a punishment will come, and what if it involves her?
Well, I guess I'm confused though, John, because when you say, we're talking about disciplinary actions, these are more conduct. So if
If
somebody
somebody goes
from-
out, I'm sorry, not you go out and you get an OVI,
yeah,
and council wants to consider whether or not that's conduct unbecoming of a councilman.
I would say no. I would say those type of things don't matter.
I was
thought-
using that as sort of a
Sure,
similar,
but the-
you go out, you get accused of beating your wife. Council wants to consider whether that's,
I don't think council should have, this is just me being honest, council should have no bearing in that because that's a criminal act. So until I'm proven guilty from them, again, it should have nothing. I'm talking about, I freak out on Bob and start swearing at him. There should be things in place the same way if that happened interdepartmentally in the city as well. Those type of things like that we have been dealing with, those conduct. As far as council goes, if I get an OVI, I'm probably not getting reelected. I don't think that I should bear any punishment from any of you. That's not.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
fair
punished
point.
But
criminally.
he's gonna get it from the.
I'm punished criminally.
that's a fair point.
But my whole thing, and we shouldn't have any bearing on each other like that because listen, you do something wrong, you got to answer for it to the voters.
Well, didn't that just happen to the Republican head downtown? He got OVI.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So what happens to him?
I mean,
No,
well,
he's going to get in trouble the same way you would
right.
criminally.
So, but
you
they're
know
not
what I
going to
mean?
do something internally there. He's still got his job.
I don't know if they could or if they couldn't.
Right.
And if they could, whether they want to. Those
Right.
are
But
all.
we do have to respect the fact that everybody here, whether I feel like you should be here or you're not, you're the people thought you should be here.
Right.
That is the ultimate judge. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, if I got an OVI and the people thought that I do a good enough job here for the city and it didn't bother them, they wanted to overlook that and vote me in again, that's their prerogative. So I don't really think that we should be governing each other in that manner.
Right.
I think we should have rules in place.
In-house.
In-house, correct. Somebody freaks out on somebody else, somebody puts somebody in a threatening position.
Right.
Those are the type of things I think.
Outside.
Sexual harassment, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's obviously gonna have a higher standard too, or a higher judgment. But I feel like those are the things that in-house we should be looking
Right.
at. I don't care what, in your personal time, Ricky, I don't care what you do.
So,
Well,
I mean,
Come to
if you
work
do-
and, do a good job, like,
Yeah.
the law will judge you outside of here for that, in my opinion.
Well, we've been sitting on this. I just wanted to bring it up. I'm
Didn't
okay
that
with
happen, John?
I am okay with what's in here,
What?
and I would pass.
Is there what, where somebody got an
We could
OVI?
always-
No, it was worse than
Amend.
that.
Yeah, you're right,
And
we
they
could
But
wouldn't-
we
always
have
add it.
something
And they
down
couldn't force
to
them out.
cover
Was it
us.
Austin Town or
Does
something?
it say in there,
Well,
like
you
you
can't.
just said, super
Is that
majority or
sexual
majority,
role?
does it say in there
Yeah.
majority
Yeah,
role,
I
does
mean,
it say
But
any?
that is,
I
like
don't
it this
remember
way.
reading that.
Correct, and none of this would give that situation, none of this would give council the authority to kick somebody off of the council.
No, I
All you're
understand.
saying is, this is conduct unbecoming of a Struthers City councilman, and we're going to formally censure you. Acknowledge,
Acknowledge.
however you wanna put it.
Or
Yeah.
you could take them off while they're committees.
You could do that, yes.
You know, that sometimes.
how is that? Because you would have to reside on some committees, correct?
Not really, I mean,
What, I gotta go back and read the ordinance, I don't
you know,
remember.
whoever, if he was chairman, there's a co-chairman as well, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Again, I'm not
But-
advocating
not
for
that-
people
no,
on
exactly,
council to
but-
go out and get an OBI, I'm
But I
just,
think we should have some.
you know what I mean?
I'm not sure what it says about majority or anything in
Yeah,
here.
did you have anything in there? I can't remember.
Let's
About-
go-
Was it majority?
I don't remember.
To be honest
And,
with you, I
and
have
if
to
it
read
says
that.
majority in there,
It's
it's
been,
a starting point for you guys to talk
it,
about. You
it's
guys
been
can
long
certainly
enough that
do
to be
supermajority,
honest,
whatever
I
you
have
want.
to read through that whole thing again.
Me too.
I remember key points, but I can't say that,
Do you guys have copies?
Would you like me to make copies?
That would
Can I-
be great.
Can I have that, 'cause if not, I have to go look through the computer.
there's probably one in my mailbox.
I'm sure that's not one, yes.
You probably filed it.
Yeah, possibly.
That's all I wanted to.
Yeah, anybody have anything else for finance and legislation? It's nice to see everybody tonight.
Ah,
Motion to adjourn,
motion adjourned.
second,
Second.
meeting adjourned.
Oh, we got calendars already.
John, are you out of here or are you heading in your office?
I have a question.
You got it, you got it.
Where's your office, the parking lot?
Do you have a movie for me? No.
I will go out.